everyone. Welcome to another session. Today is Futuristic Friday, and the topic of today's session is From Revolution to Evolution of the IVF Industry. With me, I have Nitiz Murdia, the co-founder and the director of INDIRA IVF Hospital. Indira, Nitish, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Koustav.
Nitish, we'll explore the Indian IVF industry in this conversation today. You started literally the revolution of IVF in India with your family business a long back, and now you have this national empire of so many IVF clinics, and you're catering to thousands of patients who are facing infertility. Could you tell us more about how uh, the whole thing happened? How, from a family business, you grew this business into becoming this national market leader in the IVF space?
Yeah, thank you. Koustav, I'll start with the beginning. So my father, Dr. Ajay Murdia, he started with a basic fertility center from city in Udaipur in 1988. The primary focus that time actually was male infertility because, during that era, whenever a couple used to face infertility, they always used to think that it is because of female, and then they used to go to gynecologist. And the only treatment that used to happen was for females. But what he told was that males are also equally responsible for infertility, and as a couple, both of them should undergo checkup before taking any treatment. Usually, earlier, what used to happen that females only used to get checked up, and then the treatment used to start, and sometimes in the wrong direction. So then he continued his journey, and then 2011 is the year when me and my brother Dr. Kshitij joined the thing, and we started IVF. During the time when we started IVF in 2011, there were a lot of challenges in India regarding IVF. And it was not a very popular segment because of the lack of awareness, in the entire country, and the stigma and taboo associated with being infertile. Couples never used to talk about it, even to their family members. They were never used to reveal that they are facing this problem. And it was mainly the female who used to suffer a lot, especially from the societal pressure, as well as being called banj, in this respect. So I think what we started with in 2011 was that the IVF treatment in India was very expensive, and only rich people used to afford it. So the first thing that we thought was to make it affordable, right? So we brought down the pricing to a great extent, and we with the mission that a technology is only good if it can be afforded by a common man. That was the thought process. And then the second part that we worked on was the awareness. So we started with a campaign called Ni Santanta Bharat Chodo campaign, and we tried to organize a lot of free infertility awareness camps in all parts of India, and provided a platform to the patients to come talk about infertility, know the treatment options. And during that time we realized that 90% of the couples were with babas and jola chap doctors and taking wrong treatment, and only 5 to 10% of the couples were actually looking for a scientific treatment. So we thought we should change this ratio, and we should be able to bring almost 90% couples taking a scientific treatment for this particular problem. And also the taboo and the stigma associated with this, we tried to convey to people that it is not something which is because of you. It is a problem, it is a disease, and it can be cured with scientific ways of treatment. So we started this long campaign of awareness. The third thing that we realized was that the manpower and number of people doing IVF was very limited in India. So we started with this training program, and when we thought that we should expand in India, we thought that if you need to provide the same quality and the same success that we are achieving in Udaipur at our other centers, we should have the qualified manpower, which was lacking in India. And still, I feel there are less number of people in India compared to the amount of infertile couples present in India. The fourth thing that we worked on is that the success that we give to the patients because of the IVF treatment should be at par with the international standards. And in India, there is always a notion that if patients are paying money, they always expect a baby being given to them through the IVF treatment. So just to match that, we always did a lot of innovations, a lot of protocol changes to be able to achieve that higher success rate. So I think with these four mantras or the four A's, it really helped us grow and expand. The first center that we opened outside the Udaipur was in Pune, and then we started in 2014. So the idea was that patient used to come to us from all parts of India when we were in Udaipur, and they were facing real bit of problems because you need to visit multiple times for IVF treatment, and you have to stay here for 20 days to a month, and traveling all the way away from their city, and not being able to work has really caused troubles to a lot of patients. So that is the time we thought that we should expand rather than they coming to us. We should actually go to them. And then, after that, 2014, we kept on expanding the centers in all parts of India and all parts of geography. And I'm happy to say that, in the last 5 to 6 years, we have, almost opened 94 centers. And right now, there are 94 centers of INDIRA IVF running in all parts of India. And the idea behind that was to give, advanced level fertility care to all the patient in all the districts. So that was a mission, and we are still trying to do more expansion, go length and breadth of India with a vision of, having a good advanced level fertility care center in all the districts of India so that the patient doesn't have to go outside their district.
Sure. And currently, how many couples you cover in terms of your services?
So we do somewhere close to 33,000, IVF cycles yearly, and number of couples. So cycle is a couple actually. So that is the figure for a yearly for us.
Okay. And how do you anticipate that to grow over the next 3 to 5 years? Not necessarily from the context of INDIRA IVF, but also from India's standpoint. Do you see that there's a massive potential for the IVF industry to grow in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I feel that the industry has grown to almost expanded really well in the last 5 years from 2015 to 2020, and I see that going forward it should grow at a 10% CAGR to 2026. The major drivers going forward will actually be a few, which I would say that currently what are the challenges in India in terms of low uptake of this IVF cycle in India compared to the developed countries. First thing is the affordability. So I would say India is by far the lowest in terms of the cost it offers for the IVF treatment compared to the entire world. But still, it is a bit costly for the Indian population to spend that money. There have been a lot of companies who have provided the EMI facility, and I think going forward, if it can be covered in insurance, it will make a huge impact, in the entire industry, as well as it will make it more affordable for the couples to undergo that treatment. WHO has classified infertility as a disease, so I think some of the countries internationally is also covering it under insurance. Second is affordability is also the awareness is still a problem, and Indira IVF has really worked rigorously from 2012 onwards to spread the awareness, and I think we have been quite successful in doing that, but still there is so much work to do, especially in the rural market. And then the availability of the fertility center. I mean, just imagine, in the rural India, forget about the advanced level fertility treatment available. There are no basic fertility treatment services even available in that market. So I think I was just reading there are only six government hospitals which actually provide the IVF treatment to the couples. So I think there is an opportunity for a PPP model, to work out with the government, and be able to provide at least basic level fertility services in most of the districts and towns in the smaller cities. Going forward, if we fill out these challenges and the gaps, I think India still has a huge potential to expand in terms of the IVF market.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you. If you look at the numbers globally, the Indian IVF industry in 2020 was valued at roughly about $500 million. And also, if you kind of try to understand how many couples in India at any given point of time face infertility, that's 10 to 15% of all married couples. That is 20 to 25 million couples. With a valuation of $500 million, that's still just $20 per couple, right? So definitely the awareness and the adoption of IVF industry will be a key driver for incremental growth of this industry in next 3 to 5 years. Also, you talked about the international markets and where India fits in the IVF industry globally. The US market alone in 2020 was valued roughly about $5 billion. Although, if you look at the actual number of patients that undergo those cycles, is far lower than what could be the potential in India, right? So, obviously, if you look at the currency valuation and leave that apart, still the awareness and adoption are much, much higher in US. And we understand, obviously, the industry has progressed from that region and now has come down to India as a natural progression of any technology and how that works out globally. So completely agree that market leaders like Indira IVF will have to take that pioneering step to making sure that patients are aware of these services, and they need to also expand their network from metropolitan cities and go beyond those white collar professionals to even rural population who need this service desperately. You talked about the original mission that your father had in terms of why IVF is necessary in India, right? So part of that reason is also why rural India consider this to be a taboo. And if only we have necessary enablers in place in rural India with the kind of technology that you are really proud of, we can say that India really has progressed, both technologically, clinically, and also socially. So with that, let me quickly also try to connect the dots in terms of what India can do globally. There's a huge potential. There are so many local patients looking for this service, and there's a definitely disparity between demand and supply. However, if you look at the international markets, especially regions that are grossly underserved in terms of IVF treatment, they can approach India as a potential option. 5 years ago, we talked a lot about the potential of medical tourism. That literally is now drying up because of COVID-19, because patients couldn't travel to India because of travel restrictions. However, this is one area, IVF, where medical tourism can truly thrive. So, as a market leader, what's your take on the potential of Indian IVF industry to cater to international patients?
Okay, so very interesting figures that you said. So currently, the IVF market worldwide is somewhere close to 13-14 billion in 2018, and it is expected to reach to around 26 billion in 2026, with a CAGR growth of around 9%. But what is expected, from the Asian markets, it should grow at a CAGR of around 13%. And India being one of the leaders in the growth strategy, I think it should grow at a very good pace. In terms of technology, infrastructure, and the results, I feel India has come a long way in the last 10 years, and what we have seen. Things change in India from the last 10 years. As of now, I think India is at par with any of the best fertility centers across the world in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the quality services it is providing. and we are matching with the best success rates that any center could give in the world, and we have all the technology available in India. Plus, the doctors, the embryologists, the lab people, and the entire human resources available in India has really transformed in the last 10 years, and their skill level and the quality of the service that they have been transformed is, I would say, top notch, and it is well, as per the international standards. Looking at that, the cost, as I told before also, it's very low, the IVF cost of treatment in India compared to the external world, and that is why it has become a big hub for patients coming from outside. It looks very attractive, especially, we do get a lot of patients from internationally, from neighboring countries as well as Africa. And I still feel that there is more growth potential, especially in the medical tourism, which India can achieve, especially in terms of the IVF segment, and it looks very lucrative going forward.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. But do you think India is ready for the future growth cycles of fertility clinics? I mean, obviously, there is technology available, the demand is there. You're also looking at international patients that potentially can target India as a destination for IVF cycles. But do you think we have skilled manpower and enough number of skilled manpower, really, to address that incremental growth that we're expecting in the next 2 to 3 years?
As you rightly mentioned, that there are around 29 million couples looking for a fertility treatment in India, and there was a old report which said that there were only 1,000 gynecologists in India who can actually do IVF. This is 2015 numbers.
Sure.
So I feel that we don't have sufficient number of doctors available to cater to such large population of infertile patients. And that is why we realized this in 2013, and that is why we started with INDIRA Fertility Academy, where we train doctors nationally and internationally, and the embryologist also. We come from abroad, as well as we train our people in the domestic market before we expand. Are putting up newer centers. But it's a continuous effort. More centers needs to come in India. More manpower requirement are there. I would say more skilled manpower, because it's a very niche market. It's a very super specialized technique, because at the end of the day, if any loop of the chain breaks, the result is zero. The patient doesn't achieve a successful pregnancy. So looking at that, I feel as of now, the India is ready for the future growth, but we need constant effort in training our people, providing them with the skills required to do the job and match the international standards.
Sure. Speaking about the international standards, apart from the human manpower and clinical technology, do you think there is a gap in terms of having access to a technology which patients will use during the life cycle of IVF so that they can manage their expectations and treat their conditions with informed and evidence based content, meaning they will have all the enablers in place to reach out to their providers when they need their service, or they are empowered with educational content which they need during the life cycle, be it in terms of exercise, nutrition, and other general clinical wellness guidelines. So, what Indira IVF is doing to address that opportunity or gap in the market?
So it's a very good question, and I see a lot of startups coming up with this thought process of diet plans, overall wellness, overall nutrition, and they are trying to cater to patients early in their life cycle, and somehow what we call it as a preventive maintenance, right? That you
Yeah,
improve your lifestyle, you improve your nutrition in the body, so that you
yeah,
don't face infertility, right? So we have also been working with a few of these startups in trying to say that how can you be better in terms of your fertility potential, and you don't have to eventually go for treatment. And with this drive, even for couples who have been infertile, we try to push them that don't wait for years to undergo treatment, and early intervention is very necessary, because the more you delay, the fertility
Yeah.
potential of a female decreases with age, and then it becomes even difficult for her to
Yeah.
conceive even with IVF treatment.
Yeah.
I think, in terms of how India is shaping up, looking at these technology, I think a lot of health tech companies have come up which are looking into this aspect, and I think it'll be very interesting, going forward to integrate these health tech startups into the IVF category, which
Yeah.
will eventually help and aid patients to achieve a pregnancy, maybe not using any fertility techniques, but just with the lifestyle modification.
Right. Right. And are you exploring any such technology? You don't have to name the company, but are you exploring any such technology as we speak?
Yeah, we are working with a few of them, as I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
and our what we are trying to do, going forward, is to come up with a platform
Sure.
which has everything from from the time a couple actually thinks that they need to go, or they need to go for a pregnancy, to the
Yeah.
time they start facing problem that they are unable to get pregnant, to the time they realize that now is the time when we should go to a doctor.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there are a lot of technological innovations happening where these home testing kits for fertility, are already existing in some of the countries. So we are also planning to tie up with them and see how we can get that to India, and so that couples early in their life cycle can use these home test kits when they don't want to go to a doctor for a fertility
Yeah.
treatment, and actually find out that there is a problem that exists, and they should reach to a fertility clinic early in their life cycle.
Right. Right. Completely agree. And you touched on the home care aspect as well. I was going to ask you the other question around how IVF from a center or a hospital is transcending into IVF at home. Some of the IVF centers in Bangalore, for example, are reaching out to their patients at their home, and they're preventing those patients to visit the hospital, especially at the outset of COVID-19. I'm glad that you have addressed that challenge early and working aggressively towards it. Let me quickly move on to the other question I had, which you broadly touched on previously during your answers to some other questions, which is the role of insurance companies in the IVF adoption. You rightly mentioned that any progressive disease space, when it is covered by an insurance provider, naturally creates incremental opportunity for adoption. So, from that context, I think IVF is facing the same fate with some mental health issues in Southeast Asia. Dementia, Alzheimer's are still not considered as a clinical condition, and insurance largely don't cover those conditions. However, we face such patients in our lives on a daily basis, where people are suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, and they are having this detrimental impact on other health conditions, which are really chronic conditions, for example. So, a diabetic patient with an underlying dementia or Alzheimer is more prone for a treatment failure than otherwise, right? So, I think IVF is also facing that same problem of getting recognized by insurance companies as a clinical treatment, because the cost aspect, although Indira IVF has pioneered to reduce the cost and make it accessible to common people, by large, the perception about IVF is it's very costly, the fate is uncertain, the success rate is not always guaranteed. So, in those conditions, if an insurance company comes in, obviously with the provision for premium, I think more people will be more keen to give it a try, right? So, what's your take on this? Do you think, being a market leader, you also need to advocate this need to have the support from the insurance infrastructure and ecosystem?
Yeah, I think going forward for the expansion of market in India, as well as more towards the social angle, of infertile couples having a right to have a child in their lifetime. I think it is very important that few steps are taken by the government, especially in terms of the insurance cover to provide to those infertile couples who are facing infertility and unable to afford the treatment. Will be a great step from the government side. And I feel we have also been discussing with a lot of banks and a lot of insurance companies that how can insurance be integrated into the existing package of patients. But I think the talks have already started. There have been a public interest litigation also filed by one of the advocates for framing a policy to provide insurance cover for the treatment of fertility. So hopefully, going forward, like the Western world, India should also have an insurance policy to cover the fertility treatment, which will be a great, boon for those infertile couples who are unable to afford, the IVF treatment.
Yep. And speaking about the government intervention into IVF, I think last year the Prime Minister Cabinet launched a new bill, right? The Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill, which promises to offer a governing council at a state level to ensure that all the IVF clinics are following the rules and other misconducts are prevented, like obviously selection of the child's gender or selling organs, etc., which is unfortunately a reality in India as well. So obviously, as a owner of this national chain of IVF center, how do you think that regulation will help this industry to move forward?
I think IVF segment is niche and very fragmented in India, and there is a huge scope to streamline it for the benefit of the patients.
Yep.
The passing of the ART bill as well as setting up of the IVF registry will actually go a long way in bringing more patient-centric approach. And also, this ART bill will bolster patient confidence in the entire IVF segment in India. I think the bill is a commendable step by the government of India, which will help regularize and provide, transparency to the ART segment, and this will take us one step forward in instilling confidence in people, who wish to see these procedures through. Our country also currently lacks, the registry that lists and monitor the IVF cycles being performed, their success rate, and information about the clinic performing them, among the other relevant information. And once these informations are available to the prospective patient, it will be really helpful for them to select the right center and the right specialist as per their needs. So I feel with this it will install trust among the Indian population who wishes to go for IVF treatment. Plus, also it will help increase the medical tourism in India with regulations coming into place. So I'm really looking forward for it.
Okay. And final question to you, Nitish. We have hundreds of centers all over India, but all of them are owned by you. They are, I mean, they are not franchised, right? What enabled you to take that decision, of not going into that franchising model and having full control and visibility of the operations of the IVF clinics that you operate in India?
So we always believed, from the very first day that, quality is something that we never wanted to compromise. Though we reduced the cost, but we always kept quality as the foremost pillar, and that is why we are successful, and that is why we are able to achieve, IVF success rate of 75%, across our centers. So the idea was, because franchisee has, lower control over the franchisee, person. So we never ever got into the franchisee model. We always wanted to, replicate the same model and the same success that we could give in Udaipur across all our centers, so that This is a very typical question that patient used to say, that something new center has come up. Will it be same as Udaipur? Does it have the same equipment as Udaipur? Will the doctors be the same experience as Udaipur? And I'm really happy to say you that all our centers are standardized. Even the equipment, to the infrastructure, it is a replica of Udaipur center, and we try to maintain the same standards. Also, the doctors, we keep doing this study, and what we have seen that the doctors who are 5 years, 10 years old in our company, compared to a new doctor who is 6 months or 3 months trained, even they are able to provide the same success rate as an experienced doctor. So which tells us that this whole system of training and the process is working, and we really don't need to go into that franchisee model just to compromise on quality. And that is why from the day one when we expanded, we always wanted to have our own company owned centers.
Thank you for that insight. And that also concludes our session today. Thank you, Nitish, for your time today. It was really a very informative and productive discussion. And I am very, very optimistic about the future of IVF. I look forward to staying in touch with you. And we hope that you literally become the number one center in India very soon. Thank you so much, Nitish, for your time today. And thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.